What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and some more Hail Caesar faction coverage. So we're moving along here and taking a departure from the more classic sort of European setting here of the game and taking a trip over to Tang China for this faction here. So roughly 7th through 10th centuries AD, and this is a pretty beefy faction compared to some of the more recent ones we've looked at. So it's some interesting characteristics for it too as far as the army requirements. So this is one that's going to be cavalry centric. Essentially, you have to have at least half the army be cavalry at all times, so all every time you play the game. And of that, heavy cavalry / cataphracts have to be half of that part of the cavalry. So, and then really, again, you could go all cavalry with this list, which is pretty scary if you do have access to, quantities of heavy and cataphract style cavalry. But you could go with infantry up to 50%. If you do, then you have medium infantry / heavy infantry has to be half of the infantry as well. And then for the first time in a long time, we finally get artillery again. And here you can have up to 3 units, typical division requirements, and again, skirmishers can be 50% of the infantry. So again, basically, if we decide to include infantry, we have to have a certain type of infantry, as in heavy or medium. But we could essentially go all cavalry, but then just still take our artillery units as well. So there's some funky combinations of units that we have access to here, and it's a pretty robust list. Again, there's a lot going on here. So let's jump in, guys. So interestingly, they're starting off with the infantry, which to me, like if it's going to be, again, a cavalry-centric list, I know they tend to put the cavalry towards the bottom on most of these lists, but, let's start with what we have to take, but, as far as like formatting, but we'll go in order as we usually do. So the heavy infantry here are armed with spears and swords, clocking in at 26 points, and again, just the standard heavy infantry profile, but again, there's just a world of upgrade paths that we can take. So if we wanted to incorporate archers into the rear ranks to kind of create a hybrid unit, for 2 extra points, you get long range 2, which to me honestly seems worth it, right? Again, any of these like sort of, I call them like Swiss Army knife units that can kind of do everything are certainly well worth taking, right? Because then you don't necessarily have to spend points on sort of one-dimensional units like just archers or something like that, right? So that can always be pretty useful if you got the points for it. Then we can upgrade again. All right, guys, and then we can upgrade again further here by giving the heavy infantry spearmen long spears, so up to half of those units can have it. That's another 3 points. Again, definitely worth testing that out a little bit, and just to see if that is worth the cost for you. But then we can also go further and add some special rules here. So up to half of the infantry can be drilled. Again, worth considering. Drilled is fantastic. So plus 3 points for that. And then for the one unit, or the super duper special unit, we can also make them guard, which provides elite for another 3 points. So that one sort of, again, just a fully loaded up unit, I would honestly just consider always taking that, take all the possible upgrades for it. That is just going to be like one of the best units for your army. And again, if used right, should live or do more than obviously the standard units. So some pretty cool stuff there on the heavy infantry side. Medium infantry is pretty bare bones here, but spears and swords, basic profile. We can still incorporate archers into the rear ranks, though, which makes these really cool to consider taking. And then if we wanted to, we could basically sort of downgrade to what they call Fubing militia, which basically just makes them levies, so a 3-point discount there. So it could be potentially useful by going with the archer upgrade, but making them levy archers or mixed units just to get still a decent melee unit, but that is really just also there to contribute some more shooty goodness while the heavy units do the heavy lifting. Then we actually get some light infantry archers with bows or crossbows now, so 20 points for that. And then we could give them armor for 1 extra points just to get that 6-up morale save. Probably not worth it overall, but that's that's up to the individual there. But we could also take a reduction, a pretty hefty one, if we wanted to go small unit archer or small unit crossbows for a 6-point discount. That's also a very attractive option. We get our basic skirmisher package here, although again, for the first time, I think we get crossbows in skirmisher units, still at clocking in 12 points there. But again, as you can see in this list, some really just powerful melee options so far. and a hell of a lot of shooty goodness. So now we get into the cavalry, and again, that's at least 50% of our army, and 50% of the cavalry is going to be the cataphracts that we see below. So first up, the heavy cavalry is not a throwaway here. This is heavy cavalry is good in general, but we again have some similar upgrade paths. So we can give them spears and bows. So again, another sort of multi-purpose unit. So for a 2-point upgrade there, hell yeah. And then we can have as many on these as we want. Be elite for another 3 points. Again, fantastic. And then if we want to pay another 3, again, it's getting up there in cost, right? Drilled as well. And there's no restriction on that. So I would be of the opinion, absolutely, let's go with that as much as we can afford it, right? Elite, drilled, heavy cavalry that also shoots pretty damn good. And again, heavy cavalry has to be 50% or more of our cavalry. Cataphracts have to be heavy, 50% or more of our cavalry. I guess heavy cavalry as well, sorry. So really, fantastic there. Again, it's going to be expensive, but really good stuff. Now, the cataphracts, similar upgrade path here. So they clock in at 1 point more than the heavy cavalry. And again, we have the same upgrade path. So again, we can add bows to cataphracts for 2 points, and then as much as we want, elite and drilled for, again, some pretty hefty costs here. But these are going to be just absolutely devastating units, and really an army that's going to be maybe a little bit smaller unit-wise as far as number of units, but like a whole army of drilled and potentially elite is very, very scary. A proposition for the opponent to deal with here. And, really, I mean, most of the whole army can shoot at long range as well. So really, this is properly fielded, this could be a very, very scary proposition to face. And we still get some pretty solid light cavalry options here as well. Again, this list is just brimming with cool stuff. So Nomad light cavalry with javelins and bows as small units. So again, some more mobile long-range shooting. And then they get feigned flight. And again, no restriction outside of, again, just as long as we have more than half of our cavalry does have to be heavy/cataphract, so we can get quite a few of these. Then we have a bog standard light cavalry javelin unit as small units here, 17 points. Again, still clocking in as light cavalry, so they can punch a little bit on a charge, right? The 5 clash. Horse archers as small units, and here we get Parthian shot thrown into the list as well, so it might be worth investing in a couple of those. And then finally, the artillery, right? Light artillery, bolt, or stone throwers. Again, we get 3 units total here. Medium, we can have 1, and then heavy as well as just 1. So really, I think here's the best bet would probably be, unless you're hurting for points because you're spending all the points on the upgrades up above, just take 1 of each, right? Take your max 1 heavy, max 1 medium, and then just take the other light artillery, bolt, or stone thrower just to get the most there. So, and then we have leadership 8, so the standard leadership 8, which is going to be plenty because, again, with all the elite and drilled that we have here, this list is going to be just very powerful. Again, smart generalship here, quality orders, and as long as the dice aren't catastrophic, you're going to really, really be able to do some scary things with this list. And certainly going to be worth fielding against other contemporary troops from other Eastern factions and empires and stuff like that of that time, but really could be fun to pit this against something from the European theater that the game tends to focus on more. So that being said, model wise, certainly going to be interesting to try and collect that and put that together. Might have to look at what's available in different scales for that, but this list here for Tang China is going to be very, very scary. Definitely an interesting one there. Let us know, guys, in the comments if you've fielded Tang China and anything like in that sort of time period here for the East in the 7th to 10th centuries AD. So, anything, Chinese, if there's even Japanese things available, and just whatever else is in that part of the world at this time. So again, could be really, really fun to collect and test this out and just see how this performs and stacks up to some of the other more known, again, contemporary factions in Europe at the time. But let us know what you think in the comments, guys. Like and subscribe. If you want to support the channel as well, check out the link in the pinned comment. Anything you pick up from Warlord there will help support the channel, especially with the 2nd edition of Hail Caesar right around the corner. Thanks so much, guys, for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.